Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's graduation ceremony for the Conferral of Awards for the University of Queensland. Before you welcome the graduates, I have a few items of housekeeping. Please ensure that all mobile phones are either switched off or on silent during the ceremony. In the unlikely event of an evacuation, please exit by the rear or side doors and assemble on the oval. To allow more people to enjoy today's celebration, I ask that you please move towards the centre of each row, filling up any empty seats. You're welcome to take any photos of the graduates as they enter the hall, but please avoid flash photography throughout the ceremony as it may interfere with the professional photographs being taken of the graduates. We also ask that you remain seated when you take photographs to avoid obstructing the view of others. If you would like a memento of today's celebration, you can have a professional photograph taken by our official photographers, Silver Rose Photography, who are located on the ground floor of the Morrison Hall. Photography who are located on the photographs of each graduate receiving their award on stage may be purchased immediately following the ceremony at the supplier kiosk in the dining hall. Everything you will see on the big screen will all be recorded, and in the coming weeks, you'll be able to purchase DVDs of the ceremony to relive this momentous occasion. Today's a celebration, so please feel free to applaud and acknowledge each recipient as they walk across the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, I will return to the stage after the graduates take their seat to introduce the academic procession. In the meantime, please join me in a round of applause to welcome the graduates to the ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, we should give the graduates a collective round of applause. Graduates, as a UQ graduate and alumnus, your relationship with the university does not end today. UQ is among the top 50 global universities. After more than a century of teaching and graduating students, UQ is celebrating 250,000 graduates at this week's ceremonies. You are now part of this global network. UQ values having an ongoing relationship with its alumni and offers a number of opportunities for you to stay connected with the university, including networking, lifelong learning, social events, and career tracking. We encourage you to stay in touch with UQ in the future. For now, we invite you to join us for refreshments in the dining hall. Finally, at the conclusion of the ceremony, graduates will join on the end of the academic procession as they leave the hall. Ladies and gentlemen, I now invite you to stand for the entrance of the academic procession. Please remain standing until they have taken their seats on stage.
Chancellor, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we gather and meet and pay our respects to elders past and present. The University of Queensland was founded in the year 1909 by an Act of the Queensland Parliament. Since that date, it has been customary for the university to gather together for the conferral of degrees, diplomas and certificates. May I now invite Professor Peter Hoy, Vice-Chancellor, President, to welcome the graduands and guests.
Thank you. I too would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we gather and meet and pay our respects to elders past and present. Mr. Peter Varghese, AO Chancellor, the members of Senate, Mr. David Mintz, OAM, UQ Gatton Gold Medal recipient, Ms. Georgia Rose Gallagher, valedictorian, graduates, members of staff, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome everyone. The University of Queensland's graduation ceremonies are indeed grand occasions because the achievements of graduating students deserve a great celebration. These are occasions when we not only congratulate you, the soon-to-be graduates, but we also thank you for the choices you made and for the effort that you invested in your studies. Thank you for choosing UQ for applying yourselves, and for making the many, many sacrifices needed to earn a fine qualification from a university that ranks in the top 50 of the more than 10,000 universities globally. You did indeed choose an institution with exacting standards, and you have achieved or even surpassed those standards. Well done. But before this ceremony gets into full swing, we have another special group of people who need thanking, and that is families and supporters of yours. Graduates, you might like to turn to the people who are dear to you and give them a standing ovation. Some have travelled a very long way to see you graduate, and they have indeed travelled a long way with you. So please. Thank you, graduates. This is a well-deserved applause. For you graduates, today is momentous. Each of you is about to receive an award that will mark you as someone who can help the world tackle some of our most challenging issues. And you will be in fine company, because when you cross the threshold from student to a graduate, you will join a fantastic UQ community of over 250,000 UQ graduates, including more than 13,600 PhDs. All of these graduates are making a contribution in virtually every country on this globe. They, and that now means you, form the basis of a more prosperous, harmonious, and cohesive society. The list of inspiring individuals is far too long to detail right now, but let us just note that it includes a Nobel Prize winner, Peter Doherty, who started with a UQ degree in veterinary sciences. The Vets Beyond Borders founder, Dr. Catherine Schütze. Entrepreneur philanthropists like Graham Screw Turner, the Flight Centre co-founder, who has a UQ veterinary science degree and of course now offices in more than 2,000 locations across the globe. Mark Sowerby, who started with a UQ Ag Science degree and was Queensland's first official chief entrepreneur, and the WhatIf.com founders, Andrew Bryce and Graham Wood, to mention a few. Even television's new Bondi vet, Dr. Alexandra Hines, plus an Academy Award winner, 3 of the 9 members of the board of the Reserve Bank, 2 of whom are females, a triple Grammy Award winner, the Queensland Governor, many senior judges, and multiple premiers, and many, many more. And of course also the 2017 Gatton Gold medalist, Mr. David Menis. Now all of you have the potential to achieve remarkably and in ways that you find personally rewarding, not defined by others, but defined by yourself. As scientists and technologists with specialties in areas of extreme importance to a world which is fast approaching 8 billion people, you are particularly well equipped to make a positive difference. You have in your favor the reputation of a university that is internationally esteemed, particularly in sciences such as ecology and agricultural science, where UQ ranks in the world's top 10. This stature helps attract leading businesses, not-for-profits, and government agencies to work with your university. So we see, for example, recently the global food and animal safety company, Neogene, choosing this campus as its Australian headquarters. We see veterinary science alumnus Graham Turner and his wife Jude make a multi-million-dollar philanthropic commitment to establish a wildlife conservation centre on the scenic rim in partnership with UQ. Throughout your time at UQ, you've been part of this innovative, outcomes-focused collaborative community. You have in turn enhanced it, and you will continue to do so as alumni, and we thank you for that. I do feel a degree of energy in the room today, and it's even stronger than that generated by the amazing solar farm, which is now synonymous with the Gatton campus. So I think you all would have great stories to tell, but unfortunately, we're only allowed one valedictorian. And this morning, it's Georgia Rose Gallagher, whose speech I look forward to hearing. Like Georgie Rose, each of you belongs to and adds to a venerable tradition. Science was indeed one of UQ's 3 foundation faculties when teaching began in 1911. And this campus recently celebrated 120 years since the opening of the Queensland Agricultural College. One thing that has changed dramatically in a lifetime and a time frame that seems very small to me is the volume of knowledge and the power of technology available to graduate scientists and technologists and PhDs. Some of this, of course, is widely available. Multitudes of people can tap into search engines, but what most cannot do is to apply critical, analytical minds of a trained scientist. You, on the other hand, should now be able to do that. And you will find that when you do it well and aim high, it delivers not only enormous personal satisfaction, but it also gives enhancements to the communities in which you decide to operate. To quote one of your fellow UQ alumni, Nobel Prize winner Peter Doherty, if we want our species to survive in the long term, human beings cannot afford to stop reaching for the stars. I hope that you, in your busy lives, can find time to do that and also to stay connected with your alma mater and tell us how you chose to reach for the stars and got there. At times, you might not quite achieve the target. That is to be expected. It happens to all people you ask if they're honest with you. If we learn from our failures and near misses, they can be the basis for future improvements and eventual success. However, right now, you have only success to celebrate. You are graduating. All I ask is that when you celebrate, do so safely and responsibly, particularly on a hot day like this, and look after your mates. Again, congratulations and thank you.
Would the graduands please stand? Chancellor, I submit to you a roll of candidates. On behalf of Executive Deans of Faculties and the Dean of the Graduate School, I certify to you and through you to the whole university that the following candidates on this roll have fulfilled the conditions prescribed for their respective degrees, diplomas and certificates.
On the certification of the Deputy President of the Academic Board, I confer the respective degrees, diplomas and certificates on the candidates whose names appear on this roll. On behalf of the University of Queensland Senate, I offer my warm congratulations to all of you.
Would the graduates please sit?
Chancellor, I have pleasure in introducing to you Mr. David Minnis, OAM, the University of Queensland 2017 Gatton Gold Medalist. Chancellor, in line with the tradition of awarding the University of Queensland Gatton Gold Medal to an outstanding alumnus of UQ Gatton or its forerunner, the Queensland Agricultural College, it is my pleasure to introduce the 2017 medalist, Mr. David Minnis. Mr. Minnis, who began his post-school education early in the 1960s with a Queensland Diploma of Horticulture, is now an established leader of Australian horticulture. During more than 4 decades straddling government and the private sector, he has been part of the growth of horticulture into a highly significant Australian export industry that today accounts for 15% of the rural workforce. Starting out as a public servant in the Victorian and Australian governments, he had international stints in London and Singapore, from where his early contributions to policy included development of a national export strategy for fruit and vegetables. Since establishing his own business, Minnis Horticultural Services it was called, in 1993, he has remained a steady source of advice to growers and governments, known to some as a horticultural encyclopedia. Throughout an era that has seen new trade agreements, changing consumer preferences and tightening import quality protocols, he has been a trusted intermediary between industry and government. Acting pro bono, he helped key sections of industry adapt to changing global circumstances and take advantage of emerging opportunities. A commitment to research and development has run through Mr. Minnis' career. From 1992 to 1997, he was indeed the chair of the Horticultural Research and Development Corporation. It's now called Horticulture Australia Innovation, at which time its budget increased almost 4-fold. He served more than 20 years at the upper levels of the Australian Horticultural Exporters Association, including 3 years as chair and 2 terms as deputy chair. He also led committees focused on citrus trade with Japan and Korea. Mr. Minnis has been recognised with the Medal of the Order of Australia for service to primary industries and national policy development. He's been recognised with life membership of the Australian Horticultural Exporters Association and with a Graham Gregory Medal from Horticulture Australia Innovation. Chancellor, I present to you Mr. David Minnis, Medal of the Order of Australia, Queensland Diploma in Horticulture from Queensland Agricultural College, Bachelor of Horticultural Science, and Master of Horticultural Science with First Class Honours of Lincoln College, the University of Canterbury, for the award of the 2017 University of Queensland Gatton Gold Medal, bestowed by the Senate of University of Queensland.
Chancellor, the Doctor of Philosophy and Master of Philosophy are prestigious academic awards and are the culmination of a period of intense research by candidates. I now present to you the Doctor of Philosophy and Master of Philosophy graduates able to attend this ceremony. Doctor of Philosophy, Lindawati Dolok Saribu. Master of Philosophy, Jared Muller.
Chancellor, I present to you the graduates able to attend this ceremony on whom you have conferred their respective degrees, diplomas and certificates within the Faculty of Science. Master of Animal Science, Agus Riyadi. Yasmin Andrea Amar Marini. Sumika Abashi. Fang Li. Ahmad Muzin Zun. Diane Nurani. Marcella Ogawa Sampio. Bondith Odom. Yongjiang Yu. Thank you. Yiling Zhang. Bachelor of Applied Science with Honours Class 1, Patrick Webster. Bachelor of Applied Science with Honours Class 2B, Melanie Rogie. Bachelor of Applied Science, Rachel Anderson. Phoebe Bridges. Lisa Brumpton. Matthew Chapman. Annie Cross. Ned Donnelly. Emma Douglas. Caitlin Dukes. Hannah Allison. Catherine Fell. Stephanie Frankham. Kayla Gee. Arno Gerber. Joanne Gordon. Darcy Hall. Tori Harrison. Samara Hegarty. Jessica Hobart. Stevie Jackson. Megan Krause. James Lumsden. Rebecca Nari Dart. Madison Ottewell. Emma Poole. Siti Kalila Roslin. Rose Marie Samuels. Simone Silcock. Miranda Sleeth. Margaret Souter. Lisa Swales. Rebecca Turk. Michael Tweedy. Indiana Verha. Samantha Vickerman. Claire Webb. Jack Wintle. Jasmine Zeleni.
Chancellor, I now have the great pleasure of inviting Miss Georgia Rose Gallagher, Bachelor of Veterinary Technology of this university, representing the graduates, to present the valedictory address.
Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, members of Senate, guest speaker, academic staff of the university, distinguished guests, fellow graduates, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honour and privilege to be speaking to you on this special day, and I would like to begin by congratulating the graduating class of 2017. We've finally made it. We have come so far over the past 3 years. I remember receiving my offer of enrolment and realising I would have to move away from my friends, family, and everything I had ever known. On my first car ride to Gatton, I felt nerves like never before, and arriving at halls was scary as I knew no one and didn't know where to go. We got the grand tour of the campus by being woken up at 4 a.m. with foghorns and ran around the university with the older years. Fun, 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 or maybe not. I do also remember walking into my first lecture, nervous and underprepared, only to find that the rest of the class was feeling the same way. Attempting to use Blackboard, sign on to classes for the first time, and interact with animals that some of us had never seen before was a challenge. But look at us now, laptop, notepad, and pen in hand for lectures, tour guides of the university, and IT geniuses for the UQ website. Not to mention all of the skills learned in our degrees. We can finally say that the sleep deprivation, confusion, tears, and revision was worth it. It wasn't all bad though. We've made friends for a lifetime, had experiences we'll never forget, learned the best methods of procrastination, and can stay awake for inhuman amounts of time. How lucky are we? We've been given this amazing opportunity to go to one of the top universities in the world, and we have been taught by some of the most experienced and knowledgeable people in our fields. We've had access to high-quality facilities and equipment which allowed us to practice our knowledge. The University of Queensland has provided an ideal learning environment, allowing us to perfect our skills and pursue a career that we all love. We have our friends and family to thank for supporting us through both the good and the hard times. The roller coaster that has been our university experience wouldn't have been possible without the faith and patience our loved ones have had for us. Encouraging us to do our best is part of the reason that we got to go to university in the first place, and for that we are grateful. Thank you to all the course coordinators, tutors, lecturers, and other academic staff for providing us with the tools necessary to expand our knowledge and follow our passions. For marking hundreds of assignments, inspiring us to learn, and presenting hours worth of lectures, we thank you for your effort and commitment. Although we have been supported by loved ones, teachers, and the University of Queensland, we must also acknowledge ourselves. We have attended hours of lectures and tutorials that were presented by such knowledgeable and patient academic staff. We completed practicals with many different animals, which sometimes left us dirty, but mostly excited. We wrote thousands of words in assignments, often submitting them at 11:59 on the due date. We crammed for end of semester exams, just hoping that we passed, and now we know that we did. We stuck it out to the end, and we made it to today through the tears, breakdowns, and frustration. We've handled cranky animals, cranky people, and last-minute exam revision. So if you ever feel stuck or defeated, just remember that we made it through mathematics, statistics, and chemistry. We can make it through anything. Over the last 3 years, we have persevered through these assessments to make it here today as University of Queensland graduates. This is something to be very proud of. We've had to remain focused, determined, and committed, which sometimes meant sacrificing a night out with friends or a trip back to Brisbane, but today has made it all worth it. Our education gives us the privilege and opportunity to pursue our dreams and positively impact the world around us. The possibilities are endless for the graduating class of 2017. We can seek out our dream job, all the while meeting new and interesting people from all walks of life. We, as graduates, have banded together to support each other over the last 3 years, all the while making new friends as we went. This shared experience has created bonds for life that will not soon be forgotten. Our education at UQ isn't just about the technical skills learned about animals. We have been taught how to effectively communicate with others, how to problem solve, and how to fully immerse ourselves in the world around us. I would not be here today if it was not for the support and knowledge from my fellow graduates, and for that I thank you all. So, to the mothers, fathers, grandparents, and guardians, thank you for raising us with a hunger for knowledge. To UQ, thank you for allowing us to pursue this knowledge. To the academic staff, thank you for teaching us and inspiring us to learn. To the graduates, well done on this tremendous achievement, and I wish success and happiness for you all. Congratulations to the graduating class of 2017.
Chancellor, I now continue the presentation of graduates from the Faculty of Science. Bachelor of Equine Science, Roxanne Cameron. Madison Hooper. Brittany Jones. Josephine Williams. Bachelor of Veterinary Technology with Honours Class 1, Nur Sabrina Bati Zukfi. Bachelor of Veterinary Technology, Crystal Baker. Matisse Beachley. Briannan Boyd. Cecilia Campbell. Jasmine Colville. Katrina Cook. Ricky Lee Dess. Kirsty Dionysus. Hannah Doyle. Cassandra Flynn. Georgia Rose Gallagher. Bridget Goldsmith. Katie Gunnell. Jadine Lewis. Donna Marchiori. Eliza McLeod. Merrin Mills. Emma Moo. Viana Odgaard. Jamore Ray. Jessica Sanders. Bridget Singleton. Tan Hui Ni. Amy Totham. Lauren Watts. Bachelor of Wildlife Science, Caitlin Kavanagh. Lauren Kasnow. Ho Won Chiang. Jess Grady. Tyler Hearn. Simone Jackson. Caitlin Cleese. Hilary Lindemann. Erin McNamara. Sean Nilsson. Jessica Noble. Hamish Noller. Eloise Pappen. Carly Reid. Kelly Shuring. Riley Staunton. Jennifer Sullivan. Ella Thomas. Anna Uhrig. Sophie Wilkins.
Chancellor, I now have the great pleasure in inviting Mr. David Minnis, Medal of the Order of Australia, Queensland Diploma in Horticulture of the Queensland Agricultural College, Bachelor of Horticultural Science and Master of Horticultural Science with First Class Honours of Lincoln College, the University of Canterbury, to address the graduates.
Chancellor, Deputy Chancellor, Presiding Officer and Senate Member, Vice-Chancellor, Members of Senate, Members of Staff, distinguished guests, graduates, ladies and gentlemen. In 1961, my family left Melbourne to return to Queensland, where I can trace my family history back to Ipswich and before that Blackall. In the leafy suburbs of Melbourne, I developed a strong interest in ornamental horticulture, and as Queensland Agricultural College offered a diploma of horticulture, I enrolled. My studies at Gatton gave me a good grounding in both the theory and commercial application of science in agriculture and more particularly horticulture. After 3 years at Gatton, I worked for a year in the nursery industry in Canberra and then travelled to New Zealand to commence a degree of Bachelor of Horticultural Science at Lincoln College, University of Canterbury. I might add that there were no such degree courses available in Australia at that time, so I either had the choice of going to New Zealand, UK or America to pursue that sort of qualification. I returned to Australia in 1970 and after a master's degree joined the Victorian Department and began working in post-harvest horticulture. At that time, Australia was making significant advances in controlled atmosphere of fruits and cold storage and transport of produce. However, even though we would get 200 growers to a grower's night and promulgate our research results, it quickly became apparent that there's a lag time in taking up research and then a follow-up commitment in investment. I was to discover this when I went to UK, Europe, to report on the arrival of Australia's exports in that market in 1978. Unfortunately, the shortcomings in our post-harvest handling techniques in crops like onions, pears and citrus manifest themselves in poor outturns after that period of time on the water. My conclusions were that we had to improve and we had to become more relevant in export, and that needed to occur in closer markets. This was reported back to industry and government. In 1984, I went to Singapore and reported on the arrival of fresh fruit and vegetables throughout Asia, North and Southeast Asia. I had a task of looking at the outturn condition, the grade standards of our product, because we had grade standards for export in those days, and to report on our competitors. This time my reports were much more positive, covered a wider range of product and largely centred on the duty-free ports of Singapore, Hong Kong and Malaysia. In these markets at least, Australia had become a significant player. I joined Austrade in late 1984 and for the next 12 months travelled Australia and visited all the major horticultural areas and addressed growers, researchers, advisory officers on the importance of export and the opportunities in Asia. In 1988, I then left Austrade and began work for a very large fruit and vegetable exporter and commenced my own business in 1993, and I'm still trading as an exporter. If we move forward to the current year, 2016-17, horticulture is now the third largest agricultural industry in Australia based on gross farm value, almost 11 billion, and our exports are 2.3 billion. In recent years, the growth in Asia has been driven by China, and like most agricultural industries, we have trouble keeping up with demand of our premium quality fresh fruit and vegetables. When you consider that China has 20% of the world's population, but only 7% of the world's arable land, there's little doubt that China will have to increase their imports of grain, meat, dairy products and horticultural products. Australia enjoys a good reputation for producing safe food in a clean environment, but our challenge is to maintain that reputation. In my view, exports are essential for horticultural industry to remain competitive in the Australian environment. We've got to be focused on export. If we export 10% of our production, then we are a much more viable industry and less prone to the vagaries of imports, which are increasing all the time in Australia. Exports give growers much more marketing options and capacity to expand production and sales to meet overseas demand. During the last 30 years, Australia has negotiated quarantine protocols for many Asian countries to grow our exports. This is a painful process, and I can tell you I've got first-hand experience in this. We've just completed a negotiation to allow Australian stone fruit into China. It's taken 14 years to negotiate that protocol. To achieve these market results and access, research agencies and universities have had to undertake studies in entomology, disinfestation treatments, pesticide application and residue studies, and cool chain management. This has required a diverse range of academic skills and expertise to underpin our trade. So we're very much an industry that is dependent on good science, both from the research and pure science point of view, and later the extension of those results. For Australia, market access is our Achilles heel. We have Queensland fruit fly in eastern Australia and Mediterranean fruit fly in Western Australia. These are insects that Asia doesn't have and doesn't want. And to give you an idea how difficult it can be, we've got a very large avocado industry in Queensland, but because we have no disinfestation treatments that really work for avocados, that industry has almost no access into Asia at this point in time. So we require further research. When you compare our competitors, Chile, New Zealand and the USA are regarded as fruit fly free, so they can trade unimpeded. For us, we've got to develop these protocols, as I mentioned, and the protocols usually involved in-transit cold treatment of the fruit to kill fruit fly and other insects. Other disinfestation methods include vapour heat treatment for tropical fruit like mangoes, methyl bromide fumigation for deciduous fruits, and even irradiation, which we're using now for a range of fruits. And we have an irradiation plant, of course, the only one approved for fruit and vegetables just north of Brisbane. That's the only one available in Australia at the present time. Recently, the countries approved and accepted irradiated fruit were Malaysia, New Zealand, Vietnam, Indonesia and the USA. So they are growing, and we plan to build a new plant in Melbourne using electromagnetic radiation in the future. Some fruit, unfortunately, respond quite variably to those disinfestation treatments, and so this is an area for further post-harvest research. Such technical advances will require targeting funding for crops with genuine export potential. How do we fund R&D in horticulture? Well, to this end, in 1989, the federal government set up the Horticultural Research and Development Corporation, and the government set up R&D corporations, of course, across agriculture. So we have some in meat, seafood, sugar, you name it, we've got an R&D corporation. The model was developed because of the lack of industry funding for R&D. You could call it market failure. So the Commonwealth pledged to match dollar for dollar grower levies for R&D. Growers can also collect levies for promotion and marketing, but this is not matched by the Commonwealth. For an industry to raise a statutory levy, a secret ballot has to be held, and a clear majority of growers have to vote to support what amounts to really a tax, so they can invest in their industries in order to become, in my view, internationally competitive. I became chair of HRDC in 1992, and after my second term, the efforts of my board and staff ensured that 21 industries were now paying these levies, and we were collecting $27.5 million. The industries had clear strategic plans and set out their research priorities in turn that allowed researchers to align their research proposals with industry needs. That's important. The good news for today's graduates is that R&D budget for horticulture, and I'm sure for all the other R&D corporations, has increased. Certainly for fruit and vegetables and the whole of horticulture, including the nursery industry, it's grown to $84.5 million. And for marketing, $19.3 million. So that's $104 million was invested in horticulture last year, with 32 participating industries. These funds are allocated to projects that universities, government agencies and private enterprise can tender for. I was delighted to hear only last month that the Queensland government has announced a new Centre for Horticultural Science at the University of Queensland, and I believe this is a powerful acknowledgement of how important horticulture is in this state. Across agriculture and horticulture, we have seen farm size increase to achieve economies of scale, and increasing reliance of both internal and external advice and technical advice in areas from crop management, pest and disease control, irrigation, varietal improvement, soil science, and the challenges presented by climate change. These developments create exciting and varied careers for today's graduates, and I wish you every success in the future. I am sure that Gatton has prepared you well for life's challenges, just as it did for me 55 years ago. Thank you.
Chancellor, that concludes the formal proceedings for this afternoon. On behalf of the Dean of the Graduate School and the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Science, I invite the graduates and their guests to join us for refreshments in the dining hall. On behalf of the University, I wish all of our new graduates every success as you embark on the next stage of your careers, and I invite you to join the academic procession as it leaves the hall. Members of the audience are requested to stand for the departure of the academic procession.